Mr.
Yes,
Shapley?
I'm familiar, yes.
And then this meeting occurred October 7th, the day after this, right?
That's correct.
Was this article discussed at that meeting?
It was.
And what was the nature of the discussion?
It's in that document, that email that basically says that we
Well-
got to keep the street
Fuck
small,
you, YouTube.
that-
So it was pretty
Who was
clear,
gonna
though, you would agree, it was pretty clear that this was a leak to the Washington Post by law enforcement agents, since it describes what federal agents believe, right?
So it wasn't actually clear to me that it was, because usually they'll say that it's a law enforcement source that provided it. And if you see in the bottom, it says that they corroborated independently, and they did not mention law enforcement.
And
So you don't think it's the federal the agents who leaked this, when the headline says, federal agents see chargeable tax gun purchase case against Hunter Biden?
Gentlemen, time's expired, but feel free to answer the question.
So there, prior to that, if you go back to December of 2020, there was another leak to the Washington Post that got, that we had to get.
Another leak to the Washington Post. Again, I beg the question. Why is it always the Washington Post that gets these leaks? Have you noticed that? They're the first ones to get all the hot takes on shit before anybody else can get their hands on it. Why is that?
Department of Justice OIG involved, TIGTA involved, so there was other leaks that happened prior to this to the Washington Post that I think are important for us to understand as well in that situation.
It had similar information as the
Yeah.
October 6th leak.
Chair now recognizes Mr. Donalds from Florida.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the witnesses, thank you for being here today. I want to get right to it because we have a lot to.
Now, this is where I stopped. Throughout Fox News cutting the footage, there wasn't really shit that really happened. It was more racism, Donald Trump is bad, Orange Man is a dictator. But there wasn't really much that was missing in that whole thing. I just thought it was incredibly fucking great that they cut to some random weather cam in the middle of this with over 50,000 people watching at that exact moment. They caught to some random webcam.
Cover. Mr. Ziegler, you are the agent that opened up this investigation. From your transcript, page 17, what it says is that you were investigating a social media company, and through the process of that investigation, you found out that Hunter Biden was paying potentially for prostitutes in a potential prostitution ring. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. You also say that in the beginning phases of that investigation, reviewing bank reports, that there was evidence that he was living lavishly through his corporate bank account. Is that correct? And when I say him, I mean Hunter Biden. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Question for you, and also for Mr. Shapley. Is it a clear line of potential investigation if somebody is charging up massive living expenses through a corporate account and not doing that through their own personal accounts and not accounting for that properly on their income tax returns? Is that the basis of a criminal investigation?
Generally speaking, that would definitely be factors that would spur a criminal investigation, yes.
Okay. Let me answer this question. Let me answer this question real quick. So there was reference to the WhatsApp text message referring to, and everybody knows it now, hey, I'm sitting here with my dad, tell the chairman to give me my money because we remember and we're not going to forget because we're the Bidens and we have all these connections, yada, yada, yada. We all know that text message now. Mr. Ziegler, on page 105 of your testimony, page 105, gentlemen, you state, I know we wanted to get location data because I went to the prosecutors with this and they again came back at me with, well, how do we know that? He could just be lying and claiming that dad, Joe Biden now, that dad was there and dad
Oh,
was not
multiple
there?
times.
Were you
I've
allowed
also
to get
been fighting
location
with
data
YouTube. He keeps trying to take me
dealing
the
with
fuck
the
down.
WhatsApp text message?
So from my memory of it and from the notes that were taken, I never obtained location data regarding that message.
Did Miss Wolf, the AUSA in Delaware, did she say, "Oh wow, look at this text message. Let's figure out the location data and see where Hunter Biden was when he sent said message"? Was she like excited about this as a prosecutor?
So, I mean, when I asked her about the location data, in her response right here, it was her responding with, well, how do we know that? It wasn't yeah, let's try and figure that out. It was like, well, how do we know that?
Well, did she read the text message? Because if I read that text message as a prosecutor, I'm saying, wait a minute, dad is sitting next to him and dad happens to be the now president, then vice president of the United States. Shouldn't we find out where Hunter was when he sent said text message? I mean, I'm not a prosecutor, I'm a finance guy, but that just seemed like common sense to me.
Yeah, and I think with the previous email that was referenced, 10 held by H for the big guy, now that you have those two things kind of correlating with each other, as a normal process or procedure that we would go through, you would want to figure out, is that information truthful in that WhatsApp message?
I totally agree with you, Mr. Ziegler, which is why I think it is the view of members on this committee, and frankly, a lot of Americans at this point, that there are elements.
Exactly. Exactly my fucking point. And this has absolutely nothing to do with this, but I'm looking at an article that's talking about this. It says, John Polstra of Hillsboro, Ohio, 1 hour ago. So exactly what evidence was brought forward? The whistleblowers made some accusations, but they did not seem to have any evidence to back up these accusations. Also, I have heard of tax case taking several years to complete. I am not sure that Hunter Biden's case is that extraordinary. What was I saying about absolutely nothing being shown on screen? What was I saying about every bit of it except for what Marjorie Taylor Greene showed? What was I saying this entire time? Because there's no video evidence of what the fuck they're talking about. Nobody's going to believe it. Perfect fucking example.
At the Department of Justice who did not want this information out, who did not want to go down the line of actually going through the evidence gathering process to see the depths to which this international pay-for-play scheme that was actually happening around Joe Biden, going through Hunter Biden, and all the money that the Biden family was incurring. That's not a question for you, that's just a statement from me. Last question, through your investigation, how much money did you uncover was coming from Ukraine, Romania, and China?
If you hold on 1 second, let me reference the 17.3 million approximately.
Okay, so 17.3 million through your investigation, and you and Mr. Shapley, you are the guys that investigate criminal tax evasion on an international scale, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, question for the chairman. Mr. Chairman, through the investigation of the Oversight Committee, about how much money have we seen come from Ukraine, Romania, and China?
Over 10 million.
Okay, so we have two separate investigations. One done by the investigative branch of the IRS that is charged with doing these types of investigations. These are the people you want doing them. And an independent investigation by the Oversight Committee. And we're coming up with the same amount of money, give or take a couple million, going through the same person in Hunter Biden. And his investigation is slow walked. And we're supposed to sit here and think that Joe Biden knows nothing? I think, for the record, Mr. Chairman, that the relevant committee needs to have questions for Leslie Wolf, the AUSA of Delaware, for David Weiss, the Attorney General of Delaware, for Lisa Monaco, who is the Deputy Attorney General, and for Merrick Garland himself, the Attorney General of the United States. Because if this action is allowed to occur, and investigations are slow walk with this level of detail, this ain't Donald Trump, y'all. These are facts. I yield back.
Thank you. Great job. And I will add, we just got bank records for Ukraine. So We'll be going through that. At the request of the witnesses, we're going to recess for 10 minutes, and then we'll promptly reconvene. Committee in recess.
Go ahead and skip forward a little bit here. Fuck this break. All we're gonna be doing is seeing
whatsoever
them
that the president,
bullshit with each
on this-
other.
Yeah, the transcript does not include that.
nor does it include depositions, neither one.
The Oversight Committee will reconvene. We're now back in order. The chair recognizes Ms. Crockett for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. The problem with going this late in the game is there's so much that's been put out there, you're just kind of all over the place, so just rock with me for a little bit. First of all, I want to get the elephant out of the room. Just to be clear, both of you provided deposition testimony, and in your depositions, neither one of you ever stated that President Joe Biden interfered with your investigations, correct?
The transcript doesn't include that, no.
Yeah, the transcript does not include that.
Nor does it include that Merrick Garland interfered with your investigations, correct?
The transcript does not say that, no.
Thank you. The reason that I say that is because it's the insinuation that this committee is trying to make, or at least one side of this committee is trying to make, is that for some reason there was interference, and my colleagues continue to make sure that they outline the fact that this investigation actually started under the Trump administration. So that's the reason about who appointed who comes up. But at the end of the day, we have no evidence whatsoever that the president nor the Attorney General of the United States interfered. But I also want to make sure that we outline some legal principles, since we've got so many newfound prosecutors today on this committee. Number one, just to be clear, just because you investigate something, it doesn't necessarily mean that there will be a conviction, correct?
That's correct.
That is correct.
Okay. In fact, in our criminal justice system, you are cloaked in a presumption of innocence. That is what happens under the Constitution, okay? So we all have a role to play. Your role is investigative, correct?
Correct.
All right. So then you have an AUSA, who usually is the one that is responsible for taking the evidence. Actually, they probably have an investigator in their office. There's usually an investigator that is directly within their office that will review any documentation that you provide, and then they will sit down and talk to the AUSA's office about recommendations, like what the charges will look like and things like that. Is that not correct?
If that's correct, I've never seen that.
Okay. Well, let me be clear. There is a level after you get done with your investigation in which the U.S. Attorney's Office then will look at the evidence that you've provided, and they will make decisions, correct?
Yes, and they all four assigned attorneys agreed with recommending felony and misdemeanor tax charges.
I heard your testimony before. I'm not going to dispute that. The difference is I've done the defense side of this before. So as far as I'm concerned, it sounds like a sweetheart deal, because I've never pled anyone to every single count of a federal indictment in the first place, unless they only had one count. I have always negotiated, and unlike on the state level, I typically do my negotiations a lot of times before there's even an indictment, because a lot of times my clients are actually turning evidence over and all kinds of things. But the thing is, those conversations have never taken place with an investigator. They always take place with the U.S. attorney. So the point is, you don't have the ultimate charging authority. The people that did, they decided to do what they decided to do for whatever reasons, correct?
So in my experience, I've always been a part of that, at that table, talking to the AUSA and talking about the charging decisions. So that's not accurate to say that I'm not,
So for this-
investigator is not involved in that
So this
process.
time, it was a little different for you, and that's why you felt as if something was wrong. But I want to get to something else really quickly. I want to talk about what we should be prosecuting. We should be looking at the fact that in 2017, Trump's first year in office, he also made $6.5 million from China, his tax returns show. The source of the China payments is not clear from the returns. The payments were a surprise since Trump is an outspoken critic of the $5.8 million that Hunter Biden made. The difference is Trump was our president when he made this money from China, whereas I'm sure you would agree with me, Hunter Biden has always been a private citizen. We've got a lot of other stuff. In fact, it's clear that Trump never paid more than $750 in taxes for, I want to say, a total of like 2 years of his taxes, which is absolutely insane. But we also know that it showed that Trump claimed large cash donations to charities, but the report said the IRS did not verify them. The report also said that while Trump's tax filings were large and complicated, the IRS does not appear to have signed experts to work on them. That is shameful. In addition to that, we heard testimony earlier that talked about whether or not you executed a search warrant under Section 913.420 of the DOJ's Justice Manual. It specifically states that when searching the premises of an attorney that is the subject of an investigation, prosecutors are expected to take the least intrusive approach consistent with vigorous and effective law enforcement. It's kind of what they did for Trump when they gave him a number of opportunities to turn over the documents, our national secrets, that he kept in the toilet. But he chose not to, and that's why he is facing federal charges down in Florida. And finally, I just want to make sure that we clear up something about the Central Park 5, because I don't think my colleague from the other side of the aisle understands that not only were they found to be not guilty, they were paid $41 million in a 2014 settlement because their civil rights in that lawsuit were violated. In addition to that, we do know that one of the Central Park 5 now serves on city council, Yusuf Salam. So I ask unanimous consent that I allow this.
So what does the Central Park 5 have anything to do with any of this shit? Again, let me ask you a question. Why is it only black people talking about racism in a case that has absolutely nothing to do with anything racial in any way, shape, or form? Why is it only the Democrats, the black Democrats, screaming racism in every bit of their time? And very rarely, if ever, say any fucking thing about the case at hand.
Without
New York Times
objection to
article be
ordered and
admitted?
the lady's time's expired, but would the lady yield a quick question? Would you yield a question?
Yes.
You made the argument that Trump received $6 million from China or something, and Hunter Biden received the money from China. Do you know exactly what Hunter Biden did to receive the money from China? Because that's something we've had a hard time trying to figure out. I think I know what Trump's businesses were. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just know what his businesses are. I don't know what the Biden's businesses are.
And you don't know what it's not.
Well,
I'm sorry?
And you don't know what it's not either.
But what I'll say.
So you have no idea why or why not he received that money.
What I will say is.
You have
Chairman,
no evidence about it.
Can I submit this MSNBC or this NBC article for the record as well?
Wait. I haven't really heard
Federal
much
charges
beyond
down
this
in
point.
Florida. And finally, I just want to
What
make sure
was
that we
happening
clear
here?
up something about the Central Park 5, because I don't think my colleague from the other side of the aisle understands that not only were they found to be not guilty, They were paid $41 million in a 2014 settlement because their civil rights in that lawsuit were violated. In addition to that, we do know that one of the Central Park Five now serves on city council, Yusuf Salam. So I ask unanimous consent that I allow this, that this New
Without
York Times
objection to
article be
ordered
admitted.
and the lady's time's expired, but would the lady yield to a quick question? Would you yield to a question?
Yes.
You made the argument that Trump received $6 million from China or something, and
I have the
Hunter Biden received the money from China. Do you know exactly what Hunter Biden did to receive the money from China? Because that's something we've had a hard time trying to figure out.
Hold up.
I think I know what Trump's businesses were. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I just know what his businesses are. I don't know what the Biden's businesses are.
And you
And-
don't know what it's not.
What,
I'm sorry?
What,
And you don't know what it's not either.
but what I'll
So
say.
you have no idea
yes.
why or why not he received that money.
What I will say is,
You have
Chairman,
no evidence about it.
can I submit this MSNBC or this NBC article for the record as well?
Without objection, so
And-
ordered.
and
What
I
does
will
that
say
have to do
in
with
this
it?
article, it specifically says that the source of a number of Trump's monies, it was unclear. He just said that he did have businesses there. He did say that he had opened some bank accounts in China.
Now you motherfuckers
but
are
they
fighting.
could not find the source of the monies that were
Okay.
paid to him from China.
Chair recognizes Mr.
Did you see that fucking? No.
Were
Okay.
paid to him from China.
Look at that face. She got called the fuck out, didn't know what to fucking say, and now she's fucking pouting about it. Where was that fucking energy 5 hours ago?
Chair recognizes Mr. Turner from Kansas for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you both for being here today. There's a lot of information. Let's try to quickly lay this out for the American people, okay? So quick answers.
Let's do it. Let's turn
How
her.
long have each of you worked for the IRS? Mr. Shapley, you first.
14 years.
13 years?
Is it fair to say that you both have had successful careers at the IRS? You've both been recognized for your achievement there?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are either of you overly partisan people?
I am not, no.
Yeah, I've made an effort to not be overly, like, I've made an effort to be partisan. I apologize.
Do either of you have a burning desire, or have you ever, to be a spectacle at a congressional hearing? Are you wanting to be on TV? Are you looking for your 15 minutes of fame here?
I would prefer not to be here.
Yeah, I'd never imagined that this would happen, but here I am.
Then quickly, for the American people, why did you step forward?
Because we need the equal application of justice, and we hear all these stories about these crimes that are committed that are horrible. But without the equal application of justice, I don't understand how we move forward, and I don't understand how I meet my oath of office if I don't do what I can to ensure that occurs. There are 300 million taxpayers out there that they think that this hearing is a big deal because they're paying their taxes and they see someone who isn't.
And Mr. Ziegler?
So it's a matter of accountability. So it's twofold. The matter of accountability. We need to hold those accountable who basically for the last 5 years hasn't been following proper procedure. And the second part of this is that I think we need to have some reform or something that's built in there that this doesn't happen to people again, investigators.
Let's get the facts out. The Biden family and their associates received millions in global payments from companies linked to Ukraine, Romania, and China, funneled through various shell companies. Mr. Ziegler, is that correct?
That is correct. It's 17.3 million.
Quickly, Mr. Shapley, what is a special agent report?
It's the report that recommends prosecution for various charges, each of which have been proven, each element.
Approximately how many of these over your career have you been a part of or have you prepared? Guess.
Hundreds.
Hundreds. Did you complete a special agent report for the Hunter Biden case?
Special Agent Ziegler authored that report.
I completed that report.
And when this special report was sent up the chain of command, just like you all have been involved with, in your case, Mr. Shapley, hundreds of times, did you notice anything outside of the normal process that you have grown used to over the years?
So the changing at criminal tax attorneys was definitely inappropriate and out of the norm. But no, after that, the senior leadership quickly trumped CT Council, and they concurred with the charges, so we sent it forward to the Department of Justice Tax Division for
Finish off strong,
Mr. Ziegler.
Laturner.
Everything that he just said was correct.
Now, Mr. Shapley, you recommended felony charges in this special agent report, and we all know the answer, but was Hunter Biden ultimately charged with those felonies?
No, he was not.
Mr. Ziegler, what role did Leslie Wolf play in the investigation?
So she was an assistant United States attorney out of the District of Delaware assigned to the investigation.
You met with her and her team during the Hunter Biden case, correct?
That is correct.
In your testimony to Ways and Means, you described Assistant U.S. Attorney Leslie Wolf, who was once again overseeing the case out of Delaware, as saying during a meeting that she did not want to ask about the big guy and stated she didn't want to ask questions about Dad. Is that statement accurate? And I want to remind you that you're under oath. Is that accurate, your testimony to Ways and Means?
Can you ask that question one more time so I can?
She said, Leslie Wolf said, during a meeting that she did not want to ask about the big guy and stated she didn't want to ask questions about Dad.
So there's twofold to that. There's that line in the email that said 10 held by H for the big guy. That was something that came up as a part of us reviewing what we were going to say during that day. And she immediately says, no, we're not going to ask that. And then we essentially had to argue our stance on why we should ask it.
Okay.
And then it was ultimately that we didn't know, it was unknown.
I appreciate that. Mr. Shapley, you stated in public interviews that you and your team were stopped from taking certain investigative steps that you believe could have potentially connected this Hunter Biden case to President Biden. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, I just want to summarize as quickly as I can here. We have two credible, nonpartisan IRS investigators confirming that there are millions of dollars in foreign payments to shell companies to the Biden administration. We have Hunter Biden, who most of us wouldn't hire to dog sit, receiving these millions of dollars for services that they cannot come forward and tell us about, and that potentially this is linked to President Biden, but we don't know that for a fact because you were shut down. You were not allowed to pursue the investigative angle that you wanted to. This is something that we have to get to the bottom of. It's shameful what's happening, and I want folks to mark my words that we will not be stifled. This committee will not be stifled by the Department of Justice or anyone in the Biden administration. We are going to pursue this and get to the bottom of this no matter what. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back.
Fucking well done. That's how you do it. Why the fuck ain't every single one of these motherfuckers doing the same damn shit he just did? Why are they screaming about Trump? Why are they screaming about racism? There are very few motherfuckers that had the balls to do what Mr. Laturner just did. Well fucking done, sir.
Chair recognizes Mr. Gomez for 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. I just want to be clear, whistleblower allegations should be taken seriously, period. I had a whistleblower approach my office during my first term. But one of the things I learned from that is that there's
Our camera's getting out. It's getting all fuzzy on
fact-based
us.
process that needs to be followed to ensure a whistleblower investigation is executed properly without political interference. This is not what is happening here today. Where this originated in Ways and Means, Republicans threw that process into the gutter. Here's how. One, there were more than 50 people identified in the Ways and Means Committee's depositions on this same topic that were not spoken to and not interviewed before the Republican majority released these allegations to the public. They didn't take the time to check their fact. And the Republicans even admitted during questioning that they never interviewed or asked questions or sought to ask questions of these individuals. Instead, Republicans cherry-picked 13 people who they knew agreed to corroborate their claims. Why wouldn't they conduct a thorough investigation and interview all people identified who might have information in this case? There are more than 50 people who weren't given the opportunity to defend their names, respond to allegations, or give this inquiry important context and facts.
Or maybe it's the fact that these motherfuckers wouldn't come forward to speak. Have you ever thought about that, Mr. Gomez? While you're running your fucking dick sucker. Have you ever thought about that? That out of all the 50 fucking people you're talking about, Only 13 had a testicular fortitude to stand up and say, fuck this is wrong.
2, the whistleblower transcript contains unauthenticated, unverified documents.
Which actually does track. Because there was a fucking poll that came out that said like roughly only 20% of Americans have the balls to do something like these 13 people did. Now, out of 50, 10% of that would be 5. 20% would be 10. There were 13. Roughly tracks around with that, doesn't it?
From unknown searches on the internet. The exhibit used by the gentleman from Ohio in the early part of this hearing is one of those unverified documents pulled from the internet. Yet they treat it as a smoking gun. You can literally find anything on the internet. That doesn't make it true, and Republicans refuse to verify their sources. They are trying to give the appearance that these documents are from IRS files provided by the whistleblower or from some trusted source, but in fact, they are not. These documents are unauthenticated, and we don't even know their real source. What kind of basis is this for a serious investigation? 3, the majority released this transcript with all these errors I cited to the public before verifying any of these allegations. They put the cart far before the horse, declining to speak to over dozens of valuable witnesses, refusing to verify the information they pushed to the public, throwing this whole process and its credibility out the window. Additionally, this process has been tainted by the fact that one of these whistleblowers' attorneys has made substantial contributions to the Republican chairman of Ways and Means as recently as February of this year. What the fuck? And one of these whistleblowers didn't even come voluntarily. He was
Wait. Didn't one of these whistleblowers head that shit off at the pass during his opening statement? Didn't he say that? Oh, no. It wasn't the whistleblower. Who was that? No, that was the chairman. The chairman said that just because they have made contributions to the GOP, you're going to hear about that shit. Wait a minute. Hold up. Now, let me ask you a question. And I think it was Sedan. Yeah, Sedan said these are pre-written statements they drop, not rebuttals to previous statements. So the conversation does not advance towards conclusion and remains two narratives. Why do they do this? Case in fucking point. Everything that was said refutes every single one of these this motherfucker's claims. Every single statement he said has been debunked, and he's still going to fuck on.
asked to testify by his supervisor. None of this inspires confidence in these efforts of my colleagues across the aisle or in the process that has been taken. If my colleagues were serious about these allegations, they would have gone through the proper steps to ensure this investigation was done correctly, but they didn't. They rather dragged this investigation and this committee into the gutter.
Correctly.
And that was proved by the
They just
gentlewoman
fucking
from
proved Joe
Georgia.
Biden committed
The
treason.
gutter is where they choose to live, and the only purpose of this hearing is to drag us all down there with them. I don't want any part of it. I ask for unanimous consent to submit for the record a letter from Ways and Means Ranking Member Richard Neal outlining the improper steps taken by the majority in this investigation.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you. With that, I'd like to yield my remaining time to Mr. Goldman of New York.
Thank you, Mr. Gomez. Gentlemen, I want to return to the Washington Post October 6th article, and I'd ask unanimous consent to enter it in the record. In your testimony, Mr. Shapley, before the Ways and Means Committee, you stated, quote, there was a leak. It appeared to come from the agent's level, who was critical of the prosecutors for not charging the case. What you testified earlier was a little different. Which one do you stand by today?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah.
There was
Repeat
a
that. I
leak.
missed it.
It appeared to come from the agent's level, who was critical of the prosecutors for not charging the case.
Yeah, so, yeah, it appeared because it said it came from the agent's level, but the source was a source familiar with the topic, and it didn't say it was a law enforcement source.
Okay, it seems to be a distinction, I think, without a difference. And then,
A distinction with that. I'm gonna wear these fucking buttons out tonight.
you understand that obviously leaks of grand jury information is a felony, right?
Leaking and investigative information includes 6103 would be a felony, yes.
Well, that's true as well. So would you agree that there
But I guess the leaks from the Supreme Court, which, by the way, Washington Post was the first one to pick up on. But that's not a felony, right? Because we don't know who the fuck that is. We investigated ourselves and we found we did nothing wrong. Even though the leaks about Roe versus Wade came out not too long after Ketanji Brown Jackson was confirmed to be the next person to sit on the Supreme Court, who had the ability to see these things. And if anything were to come out, well, it's no stain on the Supreme Court because she wasn't sitting on the Supreme Court. But let's not take that, right? Let's not talk about that. Let's not look into that. Let's damn sure not prosecute that.
there would be some skepticism from many prosecutors about which of the agents may be the source of a leak.
And gentlemen, time's expired, but feel free to answer the question.
Oh, since there have been multiple leaks on this investigation, and the one on December 8th or December 9th, 2020, that appeared to have come from someone, as Leslie Wolf stated.
I was just asking about October 6, 2022.
Oh, no, nothing more. We don't want to know about nothing more. Don't say shit.
I
It would
have-
cause anyone's suspicion, right?
If it says it comes from agent level?
Yeah, that's what you said.
Gentlemen, time's expired. You're the next questioner after Mr. Fallon from Texas for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're just talking about obfuscating and diverting and distracting and spin and a whole lot of word vomit from the other side of the aisle. It makes no sense as to what we're here for today. And you hear a lot of Trump, 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 Rudy Giuliani, Giuliani, Giuliani. We're not talking about either of those gentlemen today. I want to thank both the witnesses for being here. I think it's been established that you're very credible, you're very experienced, you're subject matter experts at what you do. Mr. Shapley, you led a team of 12 elite agents in this investigation. How long were you investigating the sportsman, the Hunter Biden investigation? How long did you lead it for?
I started in January of 2020.
Okay, so 2 to 3 years?
That's correct.
Okay. You both, I'm sure, are aware that one of Hunter Biden's lawyers has accused you of having axes to grind and that you're disgruntled agents. Mr. Shapley, are you a political activist?
I am not, no.
You are not. Mr. Ziegler, are you a part of the MAGA movement?
I am not.
You're not. Okay, thank you. So I have to ask you a direct question, and it's an important one. Are you two out to get Hunter Biden, or are you out to get justice?
It's all about justice here, and that's why, a plea agreement, when people ask me to comment about the plea agreement, it's just, it
Mr.
is
Ziegler?
what it is outside of my control.
Justice, or you want to get Hunter?
It's justice.
Thank you. Okay. So the ranking member, who was a rather skilled orator, rather bombastically claimed when he was speaking earlier that this is all, and I quote, normal stuff, and there's no evidence that Hunter Biden received preferential treatment. So, Mr. Ziegler, do you agree with those statements? That this investigation was normal stuff, nothing out of the ordinary, and that Hunter Biden didn't receive any preferential treatment?
Based on my transcript, I would believe that answer would be, or that question would be incorrect.
Would you fair to say that you vehemently disagree with those statements?
I don't think it changes my perspective of it. All I can say is that we came forward with the information of slow
Right.
walking, not following the investigative steps, and
So it was out of the ordinary.
yeah.
Okay. Mr. Shapley, do you agree with those statements or disagree with them?
Yes, this was out of the ordinary.
Okay. So when you read your transcribed interviews, which are pretty massive in and of themselves, it's clear that the levels of interference and roadblocks that the DOJ and other federal government personnel put in front of you was astounding, if not unprecedented. In these pages, I was really shocked to see how an assistant U.S. attorney stonewalled and scuttled your investigation. So let's go back. It's December of 2020. The prosecutorial team is meeting to discuss next steps.
Okay.
Hunter Biden has received millions of dollars in foreign payments. One of his shell companies, Wasco, to this day, no one can tell what the hell it ever did other than accept money. So nobody knows what services the company's ever provided.
Right.
And it's December of 2020. Hunter is vacating Wasco's DC offices, and he's moving those documents to a storage unit in Northern Virginia. Mr. Shapley, were you pretty interested in what some of those documents might reveal?
Yes, we were.
Okay. And maybe possibly could have shedded light on criminal activity, felony committing?
Unfettered access to the documents there before defense counsel can filter them and would have been very advantageous.
Could have been a treasure trove, we don't know, okay, because we'll have it
Following,
later. So
following.
we'll get that in a second. So did you prepare an affidavit to search that storage unit?
Yeah, I was the one that
You-
prepared
Okay,
that.
Mr. Ziegler did that.
Okay.
Did U.S. Attorney Weiss agree that if the unit wasn't accessed for 30 days, then you could execute the warrant?
That's correct.
Okay, so now that in and of itself seems kind of weird though, doesn't it, to wait 30 days? And is somebody, how are you going to know if somebody accesses it? You can have is it going to be under 24-hour surveillance? Is it going to be a stakeout?
Yeah.
You're going to have to call Emilio Estevez and Richard Dreyfuss and have them there with the binoculars checking things out?
So it wasn't in the transcript, but this was a little bit a unique location where it would have been easier than what you just described. Access.
But you didn't have to wait the 30 days, did you? Because did Assistant U.S. Attorney Leslie Wolf, what did she do when she learned that you wanted to execute the search warrant on this storage unit?
Yeah, what she
She
did?
actually first approved and was saying that it's going to take approvals for us to get this done, but then came back a few days later and said, no, we're not going to move forward with this. I was the one who proposed, well, let's just wait 30 days, we'll get the approvals, we will make sure that the storage unit is not accessed, and then we can move forward with the warrant. Her response was, I'm going to think about it. And then we come to find out a few days later that they had let defense counsel know that we know about
Okay,
the
so
storage
that's key.
unit.
So a U.S. attorney tipped off the orders of a person who was the subject of a years-long criminal felony investigation. Is that what you're saying?
So wait. You're gonna sit there and fucking tell me that he's like, hey, we want a warrant to search this shit. She's like, yeah, sure, we'll look into it. A couple of days later, nah, we ain't doing it. All right, let's wait 30 days. And in that 30 days time, somebody told them that they were looking into that storage unit.
Did Leslie Wolf tip off Hunter Biden's lawyers?
Regarding
The storage unit, that you
the
guys
storage
had
unit.
interest in the storage unit? Because once you know that, if you're the subject of a criminal investigation, any of those documents that can incriminate you are probably going to meet a match and some gasoline. So that's astounding to me, that is direct evidence, clearly, of preferential treatment, and that is not normal stuff. Is that normal?
So I can tell you that that was actually my kind of red line situation, a little bit different than how Shapley refers to it, but I didn't think we had a seat at the table. It was just, it disappointed me so badly, but I knew this was something that we were up against, and that it was like, okay, that's what they decided to do.
Have either of you ever seen anything like that before in your decades of experience?
And gentlemen, time's expired, but please feel free to answer the question.
No, I have not.
I have not either.
Well, I want to thank you. I think you're both excellent public servants and you're courageous. And justice is something I want to be blind. Not our Democratic colleagues, not the legacy media, and certainly not top administration officials. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Chair recognizes Mr. Goldman from New York.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd love to get the extra minute that Mr. Fallon got as well. Thank you guys for being here today. We don't have a lot of time here. I have a lot of questions. If I cut you off, I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to get through them. And I want to talk a little bit about the evidence you did have. Mr. Ziegler, you were the case agent. So how many documents would you say you gathered during the 5-year investigation?
So, however, I do believe I may have documents. I am limited by the statute, but would be more than welcome to turn those
No,
documents
I don't
over
need
to
them. How many? Just the number.
It was a significant amount of documents. I apologize.
Hundreds of
Still
thousands?
got an hour and a half. God damn.
Millions?
I don't want to put a number to it, but there was a lot.
Right. Bank records, right? You had a lot of bank records,
Yes,
both domestic and foreign?
that is correct.
And you conducted search warrants?
Yes, there was reference in our transcripts to conducting electronic search warrants.
And did you do other search warrants as well?
When you say other search warrants, what do you mean?
Any other search warrants? Electric, otherwise, physical?
So I'm going to stick to what I stated in my transcript. There were multiple electronic search warrants.
And
that
you
we
said that you
executed.
conducted more than 60 interviews as part of this investigation, is that right? In your,
That is correct.
that's a lot for any investigation, right? For
I
a
w-
tax investigation?
I wouldn't say that. I would say that
All right, in
more-
my 10 years, I don't know how many investigations I did with 60 interviews. So I want to focus, though, for a second on the WhatsApp that we went through. Mr. Shapley, in your testimony, your opening statement, you said that the text message, the WhatsApp message that we've been talking about, shows Hunter Biden discussing business with his father. Could you show me where in the text message it says anything about discussing business with?
He said he's sitting next to his fucking father and they ain't heard shit yet. Mark my fucking words. You will regret it. I'm sitting with my father and we ain't heard shit.
Joe Biden?
So if you'd like me to go through it, I mean, I can take time to review it if you'd like me to.
Well, I don't have the time, unfortunately, as you point out. I will tell you the only thing it says about it is that Hunter Biden was sitting with his father. It does not say anything about discussing any business. And Mr. Shapley, you also said in your testimony.
So the word we in that means absolutely nothing. Oh, wait, yeah. I mean, they changed the definition of racism. They changed the definition of woman. They changed the definition of a lot of fucking shit. So words don't mean shit anymore to anybody, huh? Goddamn, this dude is fucking retarded.
And we've talked about this a bunch, that the agents were prohibited from pursuing leads related to Joe Biden and the big guy. But the agents did that anyway, right? Interviewing Rob Walker.
Agents interviewed Rob Walker.
And they
did
asked him
not
about
use
that, right?
The word big.
Right, they didn't use the word big guy, but they asked about it in reference to that text. And do you recall that Rob Walker actually said in response to that he was not aware that Joe Biden was ever a part of anything that he and Hunter were doing?
That's what the witness said, yes.
Yes. And then you describe a lunch, what we talked about earlier, where Joe Biden came to say hello.
You are trying so fucking hard throughout this entire thing. So damn hard to say, yeah, Joe Biden knew about everything. Hunter was involved. He knew about it all. But proof that Joe Biden was involved. This is the whole prove it claim. Every time you make something that should be public knowledge, every time you say something that should be public knowledge, this is the whole prove it claim you come across every fucking time.
Hello at the Four Seasons Hotel to lunch that he was having with CEFC executives, right?
That's correct.
But what you didn't talk about is what Rob Walker said the origination of that lunch was. And you testified that he said that Hunter told his dad, according to Rob Walker, quote, "I may be trying to start a company or try to do something with these guys." Now let me ask you something. That doesn't sound much like Joe Biden was involved in whatever Hunter Biden was doing with the CEFC if Hunter Biden...
Because Joe Biden was not personally fucking named, ladies and gentlemen. He did not say Joe Biden in any of that. So therefore, Joe Biden is innocent.
Biden is telling him that he's trying to do business with them, does it?
2 plus 2
It
equals
does
4,
show that
motherfucker.
He told his father he was trying to do business, and he was
Okay,
talking
well,
to his
that is
father
true. Hunter Biden
about the
does
business.
try to do business. That's correct. So you don't not only have no.
It's true. That is true. Hunter Biden does try to do business. That is correct. Caught him on his shit. And he tried to deflect. Y'all are seeing this shit play out in real time. The same shit that y'all fight every single fucking day when you talk about these kinds of things to people. When you talk about these kinds of things to these cultist ass motherfuckers, this is the same deflection you run into time and time and time and time and time again. Prove it. You prove it. Well, it doesn't say Joe Biden. He never mentioned Joe Biden. 2 plus 2 equals 4. You bigot. You're stupid. You have no proof. Even though if I mushroom stamped it like a dick on your fucking forehead, you still wouldn't get it.
No direct evidence connecting Joe Biden to any of Hunter Biden's business deal, you actually had proof that he wasn't involved. That is the proof that you had. And in the end of the day, that this was a 5-year criminal investigation with tens of thousands of documents, maybe hundreds of thousands, unusually search warrants, aggressive techniques. You wrote a report recommending felony charges. It went to DOJ tax. They wrote a 99-page memo, approval memo, right? And neither of you saw that, did you?
That's correct.
That is correct.
And what was their recommendation?
So all I know is.
Approval, discretion, or declination?
So I have to stick to the
Okay,
confines of.
you testified that it was discretion, which means that it wasn't an approval, it was to the discretion of the U.S. Attorney's Office, which had that DOJ tax memo, which had information from the defense lawyers that they spoke with, and they are the ones who have to prove this case in court. And I will tell you, as a federal prosecutor for 10 years, and I worked with many of your colleagues who do great work, and I'm sure you do great work as well. But I never met an agent who didn't want to charge every possible case. But what I noticed in 5 hours of testimony today is that neither one of you has ever mentioned a portion of the case that may not be so strong, or may be suspect, or may have a defense.
Several fucking times they did. Several fucking times, but because this is pre-prepared. Pre-fucking prepared. This son of a bitch still says the shit, even though both of them have said multiple times, in more ways than one, that could be conferred as an inference. Yes, it is kind of a. It is kind of a. What's the word? It is kind of. Basically, yes, it is an inference. That's what I was thinking with it. Did it ever mention Joe Biden personally? Did it ever say Joe Biden? No. Well, then Joe Biden is innocent. Even through every bit of the goddamn thing. You can point the finger at him and say guilty. That's the shit, ladies and gentlemen. This is what you fucking deal with. This is no proof, right? This is his claim. You have no proof. After everything we've heard, after everything that's been said, you have no proof simply because it doesn't say Joe Biden.
And that's because that's what the prosecutor has to think about before charging a case. And that is not what the special agent report does.
Gentleman's
So,
time's
in the end-
expired. He went a minute over. Chair now recognizes
Thank you.
Mr. Perry from Pennsylvania.
I thank the chairman. Mr. Shapley, if you can turn to page 30 of your transcript, and I want to say to Mr. Shapley and Mr. Ziegler, we sure appreciate you coming forward. I think, look, we've heard of alleged so-called whistleblowers in the past. They couldn't reveal themselves, and it led to an improper impeachment of a president that was unjustified and unsubstantiated. So I really do credit you. I think this has probably been very, very difficult and a hard choice for you to make, but I think it was the right one, and I commend you for it. Mr. Shapley, page 30 of your transcript, let me see, middle of the page, last sentence, second paragraph, starting with every single day. Every single day was a battle to do our jobs. Now, I understand that in Congress, but you're following the letter of the law, you're taking in information, you're doing, prescribed, you do this, and you get that. Why is your day, that's a chilling line. What did you mean when you said that?
So yeah, every time we tried to communicate investigative steps and get support for investigative steps, it was always slow walked. It was always pushed off that we needed a PIN's DOJ Public Integrity's approval or DOJ OEO's approval, and it was just used as a crutch. The process was really used to stall the investigation, and you know, ultimately, as you know, and these, which some people seem to be overlooking, is that these prosecutors agreed with these charges.
And you finally reached your red.
And then when it started to pick up steam, Joe Biden said he was running for office so that anything past that point in time, Trump is prosecuting his political opponents. Therefore, we have the culmination of what we see today with all of the attacks on Trump himself, because he committed that crime first. Y'all see it? Y'all get it? Y'all understand. I know you do. I know you fucking do.
Deadline. You said previous in answering Mr. Fallon's question, you were seeking justice. I believe you were. I don't think you were picking winners and losers, just seeking to see who's following the rules. You finally reached your red line October 7th of 2022 at the meeting with U.S. Attorney Weiss. Is that a reasonable characterization?
Yeah, that's correct.
And what did you mean when you say you reached your red line?
So throughout the investigation, starting in the summer of 2020, my case agents were coming to me with certain concerns, and because we were worried about the discovery process, with agents turning over documents at the end of the investigation, we wanted to protect that investigation. So I documented them on a recurring basis, issues that we were having. And it was after discussions with my agents. I also saw these things firsthand. So we got to the point, it's a heavy burden. Like, I have a very deep respect for the Department of Justice and AUSAs and U.S. attorneys I've worked with in the past. And I just couldn't, to ultimately conclude that they were doing the wrong thing was just such a high burden.
Yeah, you concluded that. And Mr. Ziegler, your red line, I think you said, I don't want to mischaracterize, was a little later, December 14th, 2020, when AUSA Wolf tips off the Biden counsel about your plan to search the storage unit. Is that right? Or
Absolutely, because that storage unit, the method that we were planning to do was the least intrusive. It was a storage unit. We wanted to get, we needed to get those records.
and again, you were just seeking justice, right? Seeking the truth.
Absolutely.
Truth's going to take you wherever it takes you. Make decisions based on what you learn. Turning back to you, Mr. Shapley, what was your agency's leadership's response when you tried to alert officials outside your chain of command?
So most recently, when Special Agent Ziegler emailed the commissioner, they basically threatened and intimidated Special Agent Ziegler that he had violated some type of law.
Threatened and intimidated.
And forced him, this chain of command requirement that does not meet the legal requirement.
So you're what the fuck? You're trying to seek justice. You're trying to seek the truth, and they're throwing an obstruction in front of you. They're obstructing you from doing it, aren't they?
So my complaints for IRS criminal investigation and senior leadership is not necessarily for blocking this investigation. I do believe that we raise things on a continual basis, and they just stuck their head in the sand and took no action. But in terms of the retaliation, that's when they first reared their head. And, you know, there's no doubt about it that after protected disclosures were made, that they took prohibitive personnel practices against me.
Mr. Shapley, Mr. Ziegler, have you ever been threatened before in an investigation?
I have not, and I've come to learn that this 6E grand jury threat may have happened before to other people inside the IRS.
Mr. Shapley?
No, not from my own agency, not from
Yeah,
the
so
team.
when my friends on the other side of the aisle say that Treasury hasn't retaliated against you, it's simply not true. There's a law, 5 U.S.C. 2303B13, and they placed unlawfully you and your fellow supervisors under a gag order. Mr. Shapley and Mr. Ziegler, my time has expired, but what we're talking about here is obstruction of justice. Obstruction.
Yes.
You were seeking justice and you were obstructed. It's against the law. Mr. Chairman, I yield the balance.
Gentleman yields back.
All right. Fuck, we still have like 115 or 1 hour and 15 minutes left. There's no way in fuck I'm going to be able to finish this. I'm not going to be up till 2 o'clock in the goddamn morning for this. However, what I will do, I'm going to throw that there in the chat, throw it in the comments. Y'all can finish it off yourself if you want to. Hopefully, like I said, once Byron Donalds came up, I kind of like, I started this. So yeah, this is all new to me. I will continue to finish this later, but it's 11:21. I have to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I got 5 hours before my ass has to get up. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't even know what to tell you other than the fact that this is 100% beyond a shadow of a doubt fucking proof that the United States President Joseph Robinette Biden and his son Hunter Biden committed treason against the United States, and the entire time it was covered up. Once Trump started to look into it, indictments came and all hell fucking broke loose. And all you heard from anybody with a D in front of their name, except for maybe 2 people in this entire thing, all you heard was Orange Man bad and racism. Do y'all get it yet? I'm pretty sure you do now, if you haven't before. I've been on here way too fucking long. I wish this would have happened on a Friday because I'd have stayed up and watched the entire damn thing. I've got to get to bed. I appreciate every single one of you guys. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button. Like it. Make a comment. Tell me I'm fucking nuts. Tell me I'm crazy if you think so. Tell me what you think throughout this entire thing. I'd love to hear it. But know this, if you say some stupid shit, I'm calling it the fuck out. Because I'll be damned if stupid ass people have a say in voting for the politicians that make the laws that tell me how to live my life. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, y'all have a good night. And we'll see you again very, very soon.